This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. In the queue today, 8 news stories from the past day, Wednesday, for your Thursday, vetted as conversational by you out there in the internet world. We cover information, politics, current events, and pop culture news in this cast. We'll talk about Gavin Newsom, Michelle Trachtenberg, and of course, Monica Lewinsky, who is in the news and saying some interesting things this many years later. Plus, there's some Trump, there's some Deutsch, there's some Musk. It's all in there as well. 8 total stories for the day. You vetted these as good stories, and we'll tell you about the vetting process after we finish all the headlines. But remind you right now that we have for you a great smattering of things at our website. This is a conversationproject.com. Check out our website for all the calls to actions you'll hear here, because there'll be something for you, something for a plethora of folks to deal with at the website. Something fun, something maybe will make you think as well. Plus, go to our email address and you can email us at your convenience, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Let us know what you need from us, what we should do more for you. We'll do our best to make all these things happen. Today, not fully said yet, but most of the pieces there. It's Thursday, the 27th of February in 2025. 8 news stories, as we said, from the queued up from yesterday. Now, we'll give you some context on how they got here, but the full explanation will be in the teaser section. No particular order, except for this is how we thought we should tell the stories for today. And we're kicking off right at the top with the big story. Now, let me back up for a second and remind you that there are some big stories dealt right now. There is the headline breaking as we were wrapping up our prep for this show on the death of Gene Hackman, his wife, and his dog found dead in their house, I guess, hours ago. There's not much news on that, so we're going to put this in the queue and get you updates tomorrow when we have some more details. Also, there's some other things that are sort of breaking, and we'll talk about those when we get to the teaser section and how some things didn't get there and didn't. But this is real deal stuff that actually happened yesterday. So, a bit of a pause for the clipping part of the stuff. We'll clip these things and use these for hot takes going forward. Donald Trump held his first full cabinet meeting yesterday, and Elon Musk was, air quotes, in attendance. And I say air quotes because it was more than attendance. He was basically running most of the show. The inaugural cabinet meeting for the first of Donald Trump's for his new term, his second term, should say, underscored a bold agenda aimed at overhauling federal operations. We've known this for weeks. We've known this for months as he was going into the presidency. But in the first 4.5, 5 weeks of it, it's been key to everything that's going on. And a key to all these things is the Department of Government Efficiency. The central focus of all this change has been Deutsch, led by Elon Musk, although technically not led by Elon Musk. He came in donning a tech support T-shirt and gave his dark MAGA sort of look and actually addressed the crowd. He talked more than anyone on the panel except for Donald Trump, saying that he technically was a tech support. He was coming into all these buildings and finding all these old government computers and all these systems that didn't work very well. So he was going to fix them as part of efficiency. And of course, in the process, fixing computers means firing a bunch of people. He wants to achieve $1 trillion reduction by the end of fiscal year 2026, by the end of the next 2 years, have that one, and then have something like a $4 billion daily savings for that to happen. $4 billion a day to save 1 trillion in 2 years is a lot of work. And that really doesn't really cut into the actual debt we have. It does make us do better if it works, but it doesn't actually kill the debt because that means spending a whole lot less and not doing stuff. He acknowledged some missteps, so he admitted he was wrong, saying that, we sort of accidentally ended Ebola prevention, so we brought that back. Just sort of threw it out there like that. But say that despite this, everything's going fine, nothing is going to be bad, and Ebola will be taken care of in Africa, which is great. Like I said, most of the talk that was done in the day was done by either Donald Trump, who was the boss, or Elon Musk, who is maybe the boss. No one really knows what's going on there. In fact, it was essentially just like the last 4 years, the last term, where he had a cabinet meeting where everyone just sat around and gave Trump a lot of praise and whatnot and sort of echoed what happened. Now, one of the real sort of fallouts from this thing here was a talk time for RFK Jr., for Robert Kennedy Jr., where what happened was there was the announcement of the first death case of the measles here in decades here in the United States. It was a young child in Texas, a member of the Mennonite community, so they're mostly unvaccinated. That is the reason behind essentially what's going on. And it's pretty easy to say. He had some words about that, weren't exactly the best words, and essentially said that there were two deaths of the measles. No one in the media has promoted two. In fact, when they heard this, they said, no, there's only one so far confirmed death from the measles here. And so that's some not quite misinformation that he's spouting, but he was misinformed and it misspoke in that manner. No one else said anything of oddly as note, other than there is the underlying issue of the email that went out by Elon Musk saying, give me your 5 bullet points or you're fired, which Donald Trump was like, what's wrong with that? I'm down with it. It's good. So first cabinet meeting, first ceremonial meeting, of course, they spoke for, I think it was like 45 minutes, and then they shut the doors and actually did the work. It's all ceremony. It's all pomp and circumstance. That's all it's supposed to be. But we'll see how things go in the actual workings for the now fully formed, or mostly fully formed, cabinet for President Donald Trump 47. Story number 2, we're going to stick with the Trump-Elon sort of double effect, if you will. Not a double effect, it's a duo. And this is a story that shows that retribution is in full effect and maybe a bit of petty happening. The White House suspends security clearances for Covington and Burling lawyers working with Jack Smith. Now, without the word pause there, because that's had a bit bad split in the actual writing. Covington and Burling are lawyers, or a law firm that is a big-time law firm in Washington, D.C. And these lawyers from this firm have been taking off of their security clearances while they're doing pro bono work for special counsel Jack Smith. Jack Smith, on his way out the door, figured, I probably should get some lawyers because the retribution train is probably coming for me. So he got some lawyers, and they're doing work without pay for this, just for the goodness, kindness of the heart. Not necessarily kindness of the heart, but you know where it goes. Jack Smith is not paying for this, and it's being publicly known that this law firm is covering this because Jack Smith, as a federal employee, may be targeted for retribution. With this, losing their security clearance, it kind of means they can't do their job. They can't go through the actual documentation and the work that was done by Jack Smith, since most of it was classified, because they don't have access to classified information. They can't tell what was so important that Jack Smith had to cover this, because they can't see what was so important Jack Smith had to cover this. So the special counsel got special counsel for himself, or actually attorneys from this law firm, to basically cover the case, because that's how you do things in the United States. You don't just throw fists at random people or just insult them until enough Twitter folks fall along and have an insurrection. You go to court and you deal with that first, and then maybe the other things happen. But the judicial process will definitely be paused, because if Donald Trump can just get rid of security clearance for all Jack Smith's lawyers, eventually, maybe he'll have to cover himself. And when you cover yourself, when you have yourself as a client, you have an idiot, you have a fool as a lawyer. When you are your own lawyer, you have a fool for a client, something like that. I didn't quite go to law school, so I don't know all that stuff. All right, so back to Trump and back to tariffs, actually. This is not Mexico. This is not Canada. It's not China. It's not Southern American countries who don't want to take in any illegal immigrants sending back home. This is the EU. Just straight up 25% tariffs on the EU, because Trump says the whole reason it was formed way back when was just to screw the United States. That's it. Just a move. He's going to impose 25% tariffs on all European Union operations, not individual operations from nations, but European Union operations. So that means since the Brexit happened and the UK is no longer in the European Union, they don't get these tariffs directly. At least they don't get these tariffs, any tariffs, yet. During the first cabinet meeting, Trump went over on this part and did not have any nice words for the EU, claiming they were just formed to screw the U.S. That was it. And it's something that he's basically said for a while, since the European Union is something out there so that they can make better deals for them or worse deals for us, not good deals. Now, here's sort of the underlying thing on Donald Trump. A deal is not so much a deal. A deal is only a good deal if we dominate and win. There is no such thing as mutually agreed upon deals, because something has to win. It's all zero-sum game. I need to get a little extra, and you must lose something. And, of course, fealty, that happens as well. The EU predicted what was going to happen, and they vowed to respond firmly and immediately. That's what they said. Essentially, once tariffs get laid on them, It'll be days for tariffs we laid on us. Mutual assured tariff escalation will happen, and we will just have everything cost even more going forward. The cabinet meeting says, in this cabinet meeting, suggested that they could take effect on March the 4th, but probably push them back to April the 2nd, give them about a month of time to play with this stuff going back and forth. These are for the Canada and the Mexico tariffs going forward. That should be going on in days, probably another month to push back for more type of stuff. Of course, Canada and Mexico are dealing with fentanyl trafficking and trafficking of humans. We'll see how this plays out. Now, in a big global scale, just throwing tariffs at everybody sounds like a bad idea. I believe it's a bad idea, but it sounds like a bad idea just to throw things on folks because you want things happening. The hard part about this is if the goal is to get more things made in America, some things just aren't. And the goal is to get more things cheaper because you buy them from the American-made things that are here. The American companies will raise the prices on domestic goods to meet whatever the tariffs have for the foreign goods. Because that means if you do buy the American thing, you make more money. If you buy the European or a Canadian or Mexico thing, that retailer just loses more money. It's how tariffs work. We say that a lot around here. It's how tariffs work. It's how tariffs work. Did you know Gavin Newsom had a podcast? He does. And while we got this news headline from just regular stories on what's going on here, what made it really kind of interesting was a lot of the ways that most people saw about this was people who were complaining about a previous story we had about Newsom asking for a whole lot of money to fix California, which people don't want to do. But he also sort of a side story in that one is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has a podcast where he's essentially talking about America. Instead of writing a book, doing interviews on the rounds, he has a podcast where he's going to try to sell himself essentially in his role to maybe become president running in 2028. But the breaking news from the podcast and more detail came out on the Menendez brothers, which is the actual story we have to talk about. We'll talk about Gavin's podcast much, much later, trust me. But Governor Newsom actually ordered review of parole for Menendez brothers and how the risk of their parole would happen before their release. There's a lot going back and forth, and it's already been said that Gavin Newsom may actually back a release of the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric, who've been incarcerated following the 1983 murder of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. So there's a lot of new information out there, a lot of new sentiment out there, and a lot of just sort of the true crime love that people get that are allowing people to have different thoughts on the case. A 90-day assessment is going to be completed with these guys to see whether if they are released, will they be able to handle themselves in proper personhood in the world? Can they actually deal with being out of bars? And can the people around us, will there be a whole lot of just clamor and just a lot of just confusion happening with them out there? Will there be a lot of people complaining because as it is, it's their family that they murdered, literally their mother and father. So there's a rift between their family on whether Kyle and Eric should be released. Some members saying they were abused by their father and should be released. Some are saying, oh no, they killed my family member, they should stay in there. It's an interesting thing going back and forth, and the Los Angeles District Attorney actually is really working on the fact of releasing them because it seems like that's where things are going. Expressing skepticism in the new evidence, saying the brothers were victims of sexual assault by their abuse, but essentially as the case goes through, it looks more and more and more like it's there. He may not think it's credible, but enough people in the background believe there's some issue to that. So maybe, just maybe, they can go for parole, and if they are given it, they will be released in some semblance. Is this a good thing for all? For California itself and all of us in general? We'll see if it's good for Gavin Newsom. He's got enough things that are making his bid to be president look really bad right now. The fire issues is one. But we'll see if this thing here is just another weight to hang around his neck or something that will actually lift him up going forward. Let's take a pause from the news stories. 8 stories total, 4 down, 4 to go, and we'll get them to you in just a minute. But first, we want to remind you that the Conversation Project lives by you. You help us grow and do things. Now, we are very happy at this point to have various extra monetizations out there that are actually working to actually help maintain and pay for things. And we'll talk about monetization a lot tomorrow when we hype up our partners, and a bit more towards the end of the program, ways that you can help to contribute to us in those ways. But let's talk about the free stuff. Only thing it costs you is your time and attention. And we hope that we are worthy of said time and said attention. How we're going to do this? It's very simple. Like, share, and subscribe. Like the work we're doing, and the algorithm can see that it's liked, and they'll show it to more people. And like the work we're doing, and I will see that you like the work I'm doing, and I'll do more of it in this manner. Share it with like-minded people out there, and people who you know enjoy this type of news stories, things that get lost in the shuffle, things with a little bit of extra commentary. Sometimes really weird stuff pops in here. If you like that type of stuff, you know folks who do, share it with them so they get a look at it. Maybe they'll like it as well. And if you're not getting my stuff naturally, automatically in your feeds every day as we produce things either live or throughout the days, let me know. Subscribe, and then let me know. Go to our website. You can find various places to subscribe. This video here is released on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook. But we have short clips on YouTube. We have audio podcasts all over the place. And we have, of course, our email newsletter and some other surprises, if you will. Follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X so you find out how things get in here. But like, share, and subscribe so that we can make sure more people are engaging in the stories, the great stories we try to produce every single day. This is a sad tragedy, this story here. And it's taken us a while to get to this one, but it's taken a while for this one to kind of peek through the clouds of all the other things, a whole lot of Trump, a whole lot of Doge things going forward. U.S. officials are investigating a mysterious death of 3 American citizens at a resort in Belize. 3 American women at the Royal Cahil Beach Resort in San Pedro, Belize. The victims are 23-year-old Kator Nakwa, 24-year-old Armain Mala, and 26-year-old Wafa El Afar. They're from Revere, Massachusetts, were found unresponsive in their hotel room on February 22nd. Local authorities have suggested possible drug overdoses, but noting the discovery of alcohol and gummies in the room. But the family and friends dispute this theory, describing the women as responsible individuals not prone to substance abuse. So there's already a dispute there. The State Department is closely monitoring the situation, collaborating with Belize and their officials to determine what the cause of death is. Autopsy results are pending. They'll be in probably in a few days, so we'll have that as a update going to you. A separate incident happened where Colorado real estate developer Boris Mansfield was fatally shot in his resort, also in Belize. This one happened at the villas of Copom in Maya Beach, Belize. That happened the day prior, on the 21st. They believe it was a targeted attack linked to ongoing legal disputes and prior murders of his associates. This one was a hit. The other one, we're not sure what's going on. This one, probably a hit. No suspect detained, but no formal charges have been filed yet. This is showing Belize is not the best place to be hanging out if you want to go get some vacation time. While a beautiful country, there are many underlying issues, including possible suicide, deaths, and murder. It's there. Also, there's a high rate of violent crime in general, sexual assaults, armed robberies, and even in the tourist areas where they really overregulate how the police action works there to keep people safe because they want that money. Belize may be something to take off your bucket list, at least temporarily. This story is weird. The situation itself is just so odd. But listen to the couple go through and detail how the story went down. Just makes the whole thing seem just so much more bizarre. We're glad that they have passed the experience, but this is not something you like to see on your honeymoon trip. These passengers were addressing the distressing incident they had aboard Qatar Airlines on a flight from Melbourne to Doha, Australia. Flight from Melbourne to Doha, Australia. Passengers Michelle Ring and his partner Jennifer Coyne were seated next to the deceased passenger for about 4 hours. The event unfolded when the woman collapsed near the mid-row flight, and despite crew's immediate efforts, could not be revived. Due to the challenges of relocating her body, the crew placed her in a ring seat, which compelled the person to sit beside her for propel her in ring seat. I'm sorry, set her back properly. They couldn't move her, so they put her in that seat, and he had to sit next to her for 4 hours for the remaining of the journey. Visibly distressed, the couple were, they were tried to be comforted by fellow passengers, but it just was a little odd. Upon landing, medical personnel boarded and removed the body, which passengers were instructed to remain seated. Ring and call-in expressed feelings of neglect, noting the lack of emotional support and counseling offered by the airline after the effect, essentially when they got off. Qatar Airlines has since apologized for the incident and is reaching out to the affected. But it doesn't really matter because they are all over the TV tubes, all over the interview scene, talking about their experience. It took a couple days for us to get the story, for all of us to get the full story and them to get on TV. But it is something out there. This is rare. A study published in 2021 called in the American Journal of Emergency Medicine reported that about 0.21% million passengers die on planes annually. 0.21 per million passengers. So that's a very small percent of people who die on airplanes. But they used to have, even though it's really rare, ways to put bodies in cold storage, if you will, or things that were out of the way. However, there were logistical challenges in this flight, and this flight just did not have the ability to make it work. So the couple had to endure 4 hours next to a dead body on a Qantas air flight in Australia. Not exactly how you want to spend a vacation. Definitely not. The news came through yesterday on the passing of Michelle Trachtenberg, the star of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Gossip Girl, dying at the age of 39. She was found unresponsive in a New York City apartment on yesterday, and they have stated no foul play suspected, autopsy being done to find out exact cause of death. The New York City-born actor, Trachtenberg began acting at the age of 3, appearing in commercials and other TV shows. Of course, she was also a part of the Adventures of Pete and Pete. Remember that if you're of a certain age, venue on Nickelodeon. And, of course, Dawn Summers, Buffy's sister, who sort of appeared because... And it's weird, I can't even go into the story. Buffy's sister in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Georgiana Sparks in Gossip Girl. She also did time in movies including Harriet the Spy, Eurotrip, and The Ice Princess. The months leading up to her death, she underwent a liver transplant, which she actually had been sick for a while because of declining health. Friends know that she had been really, really sick lately and was open about her struggles trying to go through that one. Many people have poured out their love for them, co-stars from various shows, and going forward, including friends, famous friends like Rosie O'Donnell and Kim Cattrall, also sharing heartfelt messages as well. We will see how this one plays out. As we know, the autopsy takes a while. She was dealing with liver issues, so it was probably something underlying from the illness. We definitely are sending lots of thoughts and prayers, hope, and good tidings, good feelings, positive energy to all those as family, friends, and fans to Michelle. And finally, even though it seemed to take a while for her to get sort of her groove back and get into the scene, this seems like old news. But guess what? Everybody has a podcast. Did you know Gavin Newsom has a podcast? Everyone has a podcast. I have podcasts. But this is a podcast that's actually really famous, actually pretty much people watch for the guests that are on there. And the guests that went on this podcast, oh boy. Monica Lewinsky went on the podcast for Call Her Daddy and reflected on her affair with former President Bill Clinton, which doesn't seem like it's real news these days. But since we have another person in the White House that's just sort of doing all sort of crazy damage, we were looking for the nostalgia days of back when Slick Willie was running things. However, Monica Lewinsky, doesn't have the fondest ideas about that because she talked mostly about the scandal that was the Lewinsky scandal. And she believes that in great decency, Bill Clinton should have resigned after the scandal. Lewinsky suggested that Clinton could have addressed the nation and just did what he did and took the matter private, choosing to step down rather than lying about it and basically impacting her future going forward. Because, not to be flip, it is kind of about her. He basically went on like, I did not have sex with that woman, and had Hillary was standing by her man and whatnot, and then turned like, you know what? Maybe I did have sex with that woman. My bad. And it basically ruined her young life at the time and turned into a whole lot of topsy-turvy stuff, which I would say eventually she overcame. but not exactly in the way you would think. She emphasized that while the relationship was consensual, the power imbalance was, he was the president, she was an intern at the White House. She was happy for the attention, but it wasn't like she was going to run away. It was, it wasn't like she was going to do anything for that one. This was the late 90s. At 22 years old, there wasn't much Lewinsky could do as a White House intern, but essentially succumb to all of the actual malice and evilness that went towards her going forward, as people were basically condemning our first black president. Oh yeah, we were going there. It's a whole big thing. But she believes life would have been better for her, probably, and maybe for the nation, maybe, if President Clinton did the right thing, did the moral thing, and stepped down because of the issue. Now, since that time, we have other presidents who have done other things, some things more immoral than others, if you will. But it's a sign of the times, reflecting for the backwards times. Or Monica Lewinsky, which I looked at some pictures of her. It could have been, the Today Show, the third hour today could have been Hoda and Monica Lewinsky. She could have had some sort of career that level of stuff, but she had to deal with the Clinton stuff, which was very big on her life. And as many folks say, folks who love and hate the Clintons, they seem to get away with everything, including some of those things as well. She has become, Ms. Lewinsky, an advocate for bullying, cyberbullying specifically, and public shaming, and drawing her personal experience to raise awareness on the impacts of online harassment, because it's a whole different ballgame in 2024 than it was back in the 90s. It's a lot easier to get on the bad side of harassment, so she's out there fighting for people who do get on that side. We're moving out of the headlines, 8 stories that were presented to us as conversational. Now let's explain what conversational means. We post news articles all day long, every 50 minutes, to places such as X and such as Facebook, some other places as well, but those are the places that give us the best stats, so we check those first. We look for your engagement in the stories, and if you engage in the stories extremely well, we put them into a batch. The top 15 stories of a day, we'll get about 30 in a day, get a chance of one quick swipe look, and we'll take 8 of those stories, produce them into these headline show 4 days a week. The 5th day, Monday, which is taking the first day, we have 10 stories because we have 3 days worth of stories. That's 90 stories. We take 30 of those and pull from there because it's a much bigger pool. So that's what's happening. Now, we didn't talk about, sometimes we insert stories that are big that don't get in there because it's time-wise. We did not insert a full story on Gene Hackman because we don't know what the deal yet. Gene Hackman passed away late yesterday, early this morning. I didn't even see the actual time when he was found, actually. But he died in his New Mexico home when his wife and his dog were found dead. So we don't know details on that one yet. We had what was going to be the top story of the morning, I promise you. Amy Gleason, the actual head of DOGE, the acting administrator for DOGE, the person who's actually in charge. The White House says, oh, no, it's not really Musk. It's really this lady here. And I chose to pull it because the other things happening there. Essentially, the Monica Lewinsky story bumped it officially from there. But here's a story that I'm pretty sure is going to get some attention. Not much love, because when I bring them up, you guys like to get at me, and I am portraying pure hate for this guy, so bear with me. We're getting news late yesterday, early today, that Andrew and Tristan Tate have left Romania on a jet bound from the U.S. Now, we'll see what happens, but essentially, they have been under house arrest or just banned from leaving Romania for various charges, including racketeering and sexual things like that. So there's that. But the Tates actually have dual American and British citizenship. Somehow, I started picking up on his weird British accent that's there, and him doing a lot of stuff in Britain, but he did stuff in the States. He actually has dual citizenship. So he's coming to the States to do something, apparently. When he lands, we'll see what happens. Essentially, he's coming to talk to Trump, I think. I believe it is. But you can click the link and engage in it yourself. You can search for it online and see what's going on. You can engage on this link we have here that's going to be live by the time you're seeing this video. And we'll take your engagement score and see what happens. If you engage in this story by a lot, we're definitely talking about it. It must be more or less one of the top 15 of the 30 stories posted on the day. And then we'll consider it with that batch, which ones seem to make the better narrative, which one seems to be the better story to talk about. You are the judge. I am the executioner, and I guess we all together are in this together. We're all in this together. Follow us on Facebook and X. Facebook.com/This Is Conversation Project. X.com /TH_conversation. Engage in the stories we post every 50 minutes, and we'll pick the ones that you help pick us to do. Now, quick look into our spotlight sponsor today, which is YouTube TV. If you've been ready to cut the cord, if you're still getting cable, YouTube TV may be the way to go. All you need is your internet connection. You're already paying way for super duper internet. Want to get something that's easy to stream wherever you are. YouTube TV offers 6 DVRs, 6 accounts with unlimited DVR. You get over 100 live channels, including ESPN, ABC, NBC, Fox, CNN, and yes, Paramount, CBS channels are there. They're all there. Live sports, the NFL Network's Red Zone is there. All the packages for all the sports things there. Unlimited DVR storage for each 6 accounts, so no one can fill up the DVR. You have your own shows, your own things to watch, and go forward. Multiple devices at once. You can watch it on your phone, watch it on your tablet, watch it on your computer, watch it on your smart TV. One simple price takes care of it, and we're going to give you 75% off. 75% off right now. A couple extra gets if you use our affiliate link. This is theconversationproject.com/YouTube TV. This is theconversationproject.com/YouTube TV. Get $75 off as you get started into the world of streaming. Cut the cord. Get into the deal. It is time. And a free trial. You actually start it for free, and then they'll give you the deal once you sign into it. You will not look back once you start streaming with YouTube TV. The Conversation Project lives online at this is theconversationproject.com. Our online home is where you can find all the things from the Conversation Project. Your voice helps us shape the news, or how it's presented, if you will, as we aggregate stories from all over the place and allow you the chance to tell us which ones we're talking about, which ones are conversationals. Yes, stories are big, and in the way it's played for mainstream media, they've got to pull eyeballs, got to pull clicks in, so they put out things that will get your attention. That is true. But some smaller sources and some of the big sources that put things out there on their website so they're there don't get a chance to talk about it ad nauseum because they never know who's watching. So you want to make sure the big story is there in case someone tunes in and pops in. We at the Conversation Project have the allowance to ask you guys what stories throughout the day are actually worthy of chatting up. And then throughout the day, we pull them up and take a look at them. And in the morning when we record this, you may watch it any time of the day. You get a chance to see what stories are worthy of talking, what people are actually want to get into and talk about. Sometimes they're happy stories. Many times they're pretty angry stories. But these are stories that are actually meant for conversation, not just what Anderson Cooper threw together for his 360 show because people would watch and he needs ratings. I need ratings. I need clicks. I need links as well. But we do this by giving you the shot to tell us what to talk about, and then we let the people watch and see if these things are actually conversational. If they aren't, email me. Let me know how good, bad, or indifferent I did at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Remember, you can go to our website and see more actions for where we are, past episodes. Consider being a partner. Consider checking out more sponsors. But for free, follow us on our feeds on Facebook and X and engage in the stories so we know what stories to talk about daily. With that, we're wrapping up for not Wednesday. We didn't do the in slide properly. Thursday, the 27th of February 2025. In a few days, or actually next week because it's a few days over, we're going to talk about some more projects we have. We have brought back the birthdays and the history lesson in a new form. It's a new website, a new form, a new newsletter. We'll hype ourselves. We'll hype ourselves all next week as well. We also have the word of the day back again. So for people who want to get more news nerding in, we have that going forward. Plus a new feature from our other project called Very Basic Investing Advice, where we are giving you some investing advice, some stocks that may or may not be on your radar to check out for your time. So we'll give you those things as well. In the meantime, for this thing right here, thank you so much for being with us. I know we're going long, and I know we're changing things up in the way it's working and doing the live, the tape. For that reason, things go a little bit longer. Things get different pace, so it seems like a slower pace. But I think the actual not rushing to get it done, or not rushing to speak and having to deal with the floorbills of the live stuff not working well, it's working well. So it may get longer before it gets shorter. Bear with me. Let me know in the comments. Let me know via email, theconversationinbox@gmail.com, how well we're doing with this. Stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the things you are here and meant to do in this world. Life is a marathon. Don't make it a sprint. Love you all immensely. We're going to do this again very soon, like tomorrow.